Dear Arthur, here I am, writing to you, sat in the old garden. The sun is shining, which is nice, though Joni has me wrapped up in a tartan blanket and like an elderly womble. She does worry so since I've been poorly. How are you? How's the tour and Birmingham? I played there about 1,000 years ago. Oh, the theatre is a young man's game. I don't know where you find the energy. How's the Mem Saab? Well, I hope. Ramsgate remains its usual dull self. We had to sell the flat in Baron's Court, did I tell you? So I lost my London bolt hole, which was a terrible shame. Illness is such a bore, isn't it? I'd hoped to have shuffled off while waiting in the wings of a theatre by now. Hey-ho. Life is a roll of the dice, old boy. We're all slaves to luck. And at the end of the day, it must be faced, I've been blessed with luck. What was getting the part of Sergeant Wilson if it wasn't lucky? And I nearly turned it down. I didn't fancy another television comedy at the time. What fools we actors be. Joni's at the shops, getting my favourite cake. She does spoil me so. Where would I be without my Joni? She's letting me drink again. Did you know? In moderation, naturally. Life isn't worth living, after all, without the odd tipple. Oh dear, I'm getting maudlin. The price of illness, I'm afraid. My mind seems stuck in the past these days, thinking about Hattie and Laurie and Tony and all the dear chums who've gone. Remember when we first met? It was in that dreadful rehearsal room in Chiswick, above that godforsaken pub. The Feathers, wasn't it? The BBC had snapped into action and spared every expense. It was the first read-through of the show. 14 years ago now. How time flies. I was sitting alone, feeling somewhat forlorn, when John Laurie made a beeline.
Is this the right way to the loony bin?
Laurie!
Johnny boy!
How awfully nice to see you.
Aye, same here.
I haven't seen you.
Mr. 10%, the Charlie Drake disaster.
Oh, God, of course.
Not our finest hour.
It gave cinema a bad name.
Son, it gave crap a bad name. The man's a malignant midget.
Oh, still, how lovely we're working together again.
So they've dragged you into this mess too, eh?
Seems so.
I've done some rubbish in my time, but this takes the biscuit.
Oh, I've done worse.
I've seen lavatory paper with the scrawling madmen on it better than these scripts, man.
Well,
I've played Shakespeare, Richard III, Henry V, Macbeth, and now I'm doing this rubbish.
I saw you on stage, you know, before the war at the Old Vic, with Olivia.
A fine man, for an Englishman. Look at that poor wretch. It's a wonder he made it to rehearsal.
Arnold, I did some of his plays in rep.
Aye, Ridley yonder. He'll need a stretcher just to get him home. Look at him, a bag of old bones. They'll be propping him up just to see him through the series, working with string like Muffin the Mule.
I'm sure he's not that poorly.
Poorly? If he was a pit pony, they'd have shot him long since.
Isn't he the same age as you?
Yeah, aye, but I'm from Dumfries.
I don't get you.
We're of hardy stock. If you can survive the Vikings and the Sassenachs, you can survive anything.
Sassenachs?
The English, man. The English. Satan's stormtroopers.
Ah. Arnold was on the Somme, you know.
I was on the Somme myself, laddie, so I was.
Really? I didn't know. What was it like?
The weather was filthy, and so was the slaughter.
I was a captain in the Second War, Royal Armoured Corps.
See any action?
No, I was in India for the whole thing. So quiet you could hear a pin drop. Terrible bore.
Ah, well, you're playing a sergeant now.
Yes, demotion. It's rather nice, playing one of the lower ranks. I always get typecast as pompous officers or upper-class twits.
I wonder why.
That's very good.
I was in the Home Guard, Second War, guarding Paddington.
Oh, any good?
One long exercise and tedium.
Huh?
Now, but a shower, an absolute shower, a bit like this, Lord.
You really think so?
Aye, this show is doomed. The BBC has gone downhill if they're commissioning this bill.
Oh, well, one series won't hurt.
Didn't you do that television show with Peggy Murray?
Yes, George and the Dragon, 4 series.
That woman has a face like a bag of frogs.
Well, she's a very charming lady, actually.
If you say so, laddie, if you say so.
Hello. Just thought I'd say hello. I'm Ian.
Are you the tea-boy?
No, actually I'm playing Pike.
Oh, yes.
You look about 12, son.
Hey? I'm 22.
Just out of drama school.
Almost.
What the hell have you been doing all your life to look that young?
Avoiding manual labour, mainly.
Hello, old boy, I'm John.
Of course you are. I'm a big fan.
Oh, really? Oh, good show.
I loved your work with Hancock.
Ah, yes, dear Tony.
I'd have loved to work with him.
Gone now, alas.
In Australia, wasn't it?
Yes, 2 months back. All alone. A terrible way to go.
He didn't seem very happy.
He was the life and soul of the party until the party ended.
Were you close?
He was my best friend. Even after he ran off with my wife.
Oh.
Oh, it's all right. She came back.
Oh, hey. Good.
And what have you got there, laddie?
The Times.
Fancy.
For the crossword. My dad handed it, actually.
Dab hand, I'll be the judge of that.
You do the Times crossword?
Obsessively.
What have you got for 3 down?
That would be telling, laddie. Aye, that would be telling.
Ah, dear Ian. He spent years trying to beat old Laurie to the end of the Times crossword. Not sure he ever made it. You were the most famous of us all, of course, Arthur. You'd played Mr Swindley in Coronation Street. You were the household name. I was, isn't that thingy from Hancock, or aren't you what's-his-name who works with Sid James? They could never put the name to the face. Of course, the irony is they never ever remembered my name. They couldn't pronounce it when they did. To the masses, I became Sergeant Wilson. No matter where I went. A truck driver once yelled, "Oi, Wilson!" at me from his cab in Ramsgate High Street. So I snapped into action, dropped my trousers, and wiggled my bare bottom at him like a maniac. But I didn't mind, not really. Unlike you, even at the start, you resented the attention.
Hopefully they'll give us a car on the day. Do you reckon? Yeah.
John, isn't it?
Oh, hello, dear boy.
I'm Arthur. Arthur Lowe.
Yes, I know. I recognised you at once.
Not from that hideous tosh on television.
Coronation Street?
Dreadful stuff. All pigeon lofts and pathos.
Oh, I don't know.
Felt embarrassed doing it for years. Half the cast give puppets a bad name.
How do you mean?
Doing that piffle year after year, it's a wonder some of them aren't screaming with insanity. It was my glimpse into hell.
Not so bad.
Its viewers are dreadfully common.
How so?
The great unwashed yell, "Oi, Swindley," at me in the street. That, or, "Have you shagged Emily Nugent yet?" It was the bane of my life getting that wrong.
Well, price of fame, I'm afraid.
A price too high.
I was talking about your theatre work, actually. I admired you very much in Pal Joey.
Oh, yes. Well, that's a smaller ticket. Halcyon Days, Call Me Madam, Pal Joey, The Pyjama Game. I went from one musical to the next in those days. Great time.
They sound splendid.
Though being at the theatre every night for 10 years didn't really endear me to the Memsahib.
Memsahib?
The wife. She was quite lonely. She prefers me doing telly. Home in time for tiffin and all that.
Yeah, quite.
Wasn't that, shabby fellow who was talking to you, John Lorry?
Oh, yes.
I didn't know he was still alive.
He's alive and breathing.
Just. In that overcoat.
He's playing Fraser.
He's been playing 70-year-old since the 30s, hasn't he?
Rather well. Very good in the 39 Steps.
Yes, of course.
Bill Pertwee's playing the warden.
The fellow from round the hall?
That's the one.
Good. I like him.
Clive's in this too, playing the Doddery Corporal.
Dunn? Fellow who always plays old coat.
That's him. He should be here soon.
Isn't he a socialist?
Well, he's in the Labour Party.
I thought so.
I don't think that makes him a communist or anything.
Yes. But we have to keep an eye on him.
He's a very good friend of mine, actually. He used to work at the Players' Theatre with Hattie. Enormous fun.
You're not a pinko, are you?
Not that I noticed.
I should think not. Bad enough with Harold Wilson in power. Never trust a man in Macintosh. They're notoriously shifty.
I'm a liberal conservative, actually.
Can you be both?
Well, yes.
Sounds a bit wishy-washy.
I don't think so.
Oh, well, one man's ceiling is another man's floor.
Yeah. Well, Laurie's not too keen on the script.
Quite right. Won't have them in the house.
How will you learn them?
As I go, old man. As I go. I was in rep, you know.
Well, weren't we all, old boy? Weren't we all? Dear Arthur, who knew you'd never really know your lines? All those hesitations as Mannering. It wasn't deliberate. Not as the critics suggested. You were struggling to remember the next line. It made you all the more endearing to the public, somehow. Of course, the show had come at just the right time for me. My wife had run away with Tony Hancock, that is. Dreadfully embarrassing. The whole show-business world knew about it. Everyone felt so horribly sorry for me. It became such a bore. She came back, but my heart was still broken. He went off to Australia. Well, you know the rest. Pills and vodka. You wouldn't have wished it on a dog. It broke my heart again. We were terribly close, despite everything. So Dad's army saved me from drowning in self-pity. And I found my bosom buddy in Jimmy Beck, of course. If ever a man was put on earth to cheer a fellow up, it was Jimmy Beck. Hello there, is this the queue for the coffee?
If it's a queue for black market nylons, they're taking this World War II malarkey way too seriously, old son.
How do you think the read-through is going?
Oh, it's a bit of a shambles, but it always starts like that, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Still better than being on a rock and roll.
Rock and roll?
Nat King Cole.
Sorry, still not with you.
Dole.
Ah.
Things have been a bit lean. Played Archie Rice at Birmingham Rep.
Really? Good show.
Yeah, it's been a bit quiet on the work front since.
Well, I know that feeling.
This job came out of the blue, thank God. I was about to sell my organs to medical science. I'm Jimmy, by the way. Jimmy Beck.
John Le Mesurier.
Oh, that's a bit of a mouthful.
Yes, it was my mother's maiden name. Thought it would make me sound more exotic.
Well, my name sounds just like me. Common.
Are you a Cockney?
Nah, I'm from Islington.
Oh, isn't that the same?
Oh, you're supposed to be able to hear the sound of bow bells if you're a Cockney.
Of course.
Mind you, if the whole of London stopped talking, driving or making any noise at all, I might have been able to hear them in Islington, I suppose. But the way Londoners mouth off, it's a long shot, isn't it? I mean, you can hardly hear yourself scream in Islington.
Yeah,
Not so much a neighbourhood, more an exhaust fume.
That's very good.
I know your face, don't I?
Well, probably. I've been kicking around for years. I normally play middle-class fellows. Irks, judges, dull clerks, or pompous solicitors. Ironic, the last one.
How's that?
My father's a solicitor. He always wanted me to become one. I let the side down somewhat, becoming an actor.
My dad wanted me to do anything about acting. Thought it a sure sign of homosexuality. But give me acting any day of the week. I mean, beats bloody working.
It's my philosophy entirely.
Done Z-cars?
No, alas.
Oh, I've played so many coppers. Dixon and Doc Green was invited to my wedding.
No, I never get many policemen. Perhaps I'm too genteel.
Do you mind being typecast?
Dear God, no. As long as I'm working.
I remember the name now. Weren't you married to that Hattie Jacques, her from the Carry-Ons?
Oh, yes.
How is she?
Living with someone else now, somewhat gleefully.
Oh, sorry.
I was a bit too much of a bore for her, I'm afraid.
You? Boring? Nah, you look like one of those quiet ones.
How do you mean?
All calm on the outside and wild as a dervish inside.
Yeah, well, I have my moments.
I thought so. We'll have a laugh on this, you mark my words.
Do you like jazz?
Well, provided you can drink while you can listen, count me in.
Good man.
Down a pub for a swift half lunchtime?
I thought you'd never ask.
Kid, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Jimmy and I took to fame like ducks to water. We couldn't buy a drink wherever we went. Playing the genial spiv, Jimmy became the toast of North London. It was such an immediate hit, wasn't it, Arthur, the show? By the second series, we were getting 9 million viewers straight off the bat. Award nominations, cover of the Radio Times, the critics writing love letters, the full Monty. What more could a man ask? Thus I stumbled into success. A mere youth of 56, the role of my life, playing myself as vague and distracted as I could be. And you played you, or rather a slightly exaggerated version of you, a little more pompous, a little more arrogant. Napoleon in wire-rimmed spectacles. You did it so well. Hello, Arthur.
Ah, Johnny.
Here we are again.
Yes, I suppose so. I was just complaining about the kippers.
Oh, what's wrong with them?
They're boiling the bag. I asked for swim-around ones.
Ah.
Don't get me started on the measly state of the sausages. Blink and you'll miss them. I've seen more meat at a vegetarian rally.
How was your summer?
Rather good, rather good.
Uh-huh.
Did a film with Lindsay Anderson.
Did you? Good show.
Strange little picture. Set in a public school, but very good. Might play well in the art houses.
Excellent.
Back to the National in the spring.
So I've read.
Proper stuff. Olivier called, personally.
Well, don't tell Laurie. He'll be green with envy.
Busy yourself?
Listen, Nat. Lots of voiceovers. Home Pride, etc. Easy loot.
Never thought we'd get a second series of this tosh.
The public seem to have taken to it.
Yes. They've stopped yelling Oi Swindley at me.
They have.
Now the gallant unwashed yell Oi Mannering instead.
Well, it makes a change, I suppose.
They'll shoot me one day, of course.
Who?
The unhinged masses.
Why would they do that?
Because the public resent success. They're notorious for it.
They're very fond of you, the public, Arthur. You do know that, don't you?
Yes, but must they be so vulgar about it?
Well. Oh, there's Clive.
Dunn. He's a variety, of course. Not one of us.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't be so snobbish about Clive, Arthur.
Why ever not?
He's a splendid fellow, the dearest heart.
Yes. But he's thick as thieves with the Prime Minister. The grubby Herbert ruining this nation even as we speak.
Thick as thieves?
Cronies.
Oh.
Harold has him round for tea at number 10.
He does?
Cucumber sandwiches, bottled beer, Battenberg, all the trimmings.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Nice. Labour will have us all in the gulag yet.
You're not that conservative, Arthur.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, Lord, we're different people.
Quite right. Chalk and cheese.
Yet oddly we seem to get on.
Strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you seen Arnold?
What about him?
The poor old fool is falling apart.
Quiet, he'll hear you.
That man is deaf as a post. He's withering away, I tell you, like an aging prune. He'll not last another series.
You said that about the first series.
It's a miracle of science. The Walking Dead.
You're incorrigible.
It's been said.
Have you looked at the new scripts?
Aye, if the first ones were drivel, these ones are worse.
You count your lines to make sure you have more than Clive.
I never said I wasn't competitive, but they're still rubbish.
Public adore them.
The public have the collective IQ of a dead squirrel, man.
Jimmy P. and David seem to have taken aspects of our personalities and added them. Awfully clever of them.
How do you mean?
Well, they've added, we're doomed.
What about it?
Don't you always say that?
Never have, never will.
Oh, but you
I'm
do.
nothing like a dour undertaker, man.
You're not?
In Dumfries, they consider me almost raffish.
They do.
Aye. Now, where's the laddie? I've completed the Times crossword already. He's an Aston Villa supporter, of course. It'll lead to a lifetime of despair.
Sour-faced twerp.
Oh, Laurie's all right, just like Simone.
Don't they all north of the border? If it rains, they blame the English.
A fine comic actor, though.
When he remembers his line.
Yes.
How's Joanie?
Very well, thank you.
There was, rather a scandal about her, wasn't there?
Last year, yes, I'm afraid there was.
Hancock, was it?
Yes.
Dreadful sort. Alcoholic, you know.
Yes, I know.
I hope you gave him a good thrashing.
No, I'm afraid I didn't. I rather pitied him.
You're too easygoing, Johnny.
I had some trouble with Hattie along the same lines when I was married to her.
How so?
She shacked up with a car salesman.
Oh. Well, I hope you at least gave him a punch up the hooter.
Oh, no, he was rather too big for that. I moved upstairs.
What?
It was my house they shacked up in. I moved into the attic.
The attic?
Yes, to stay near the children.
My God, man.
I like the quiet life, you see, Arthur. I do hate a fuss.
You have to make a fuss sometimes.
I don't see why.
How on earth did you survive the war?
Oh, I got by. The Luftwaffe blew up my house, but I never took it personally.
Officer, of course.
Yes, captain. In India. Terribly dull. You were a sergeant major, weren't you?
Yes. Egypt. Radio and radar mechanic. Never saw any action. Bad eyesight. They wouldn't let me near the front lines. The only thing I killed in anger were the flies.
Isn't it funny? Here we are, roles reversed, you playing the officer.
Yes. Funny.
Clive was in 4 POW camps and a Nazi work camp in Austria. Had a dreadful time.
Probably where he got his lefty idea.
Oh, now, Arthur, really.
All right, Lemez.
Can't complain, Jimmy.
We having a drink tonight?
Playtime, try and stop me.
Hair of the dog, eh? After last night.
Oh.
On the legs, that's you.
Oh, well, I think I still have the energy to find my way to the bar, of course.
Good man. Looks like a pillar of the establishment, this one, Arthur. You know the type. Vest tucked into his underpants and sex every leap year. But 3 G&Ts, he's friskier than a moose during mating season.
I'm sure he is.
You joining us tonight for a change, Arthur?
Don't be absurd.
Please yourself. First round's on me, Johnny boy.
Good show.
I wouldn't bother with them kippers, Arthur. A priest was giving him last rites about an hour ago.
Oh, dear. I wish you'd join us.
Have to have dinner with the men sahib.
Jimmy's the life and soul. You'd have a merry time.
A cockney is like a mediocre sherry. Best enjoyed in small doses.
I thought you liked Jimmy.
Oh, I do. But one has to keep to oneself.
Lord Arthur, you turn more into your character with every passing day.
I'm nothing like Mannering.
How so?
I can never be that pompous.
Yes, Arthur, we were chalk and cheese right enough. I never thought we'd be friends. We never saw much of you socially. You kept your own company, you and your Mem Sahib. Until you bought the infamous boat. You bought a boat and became captain of the high seas. Huh? Or at least the Thames. The Amazon, a steam yacht, the second love of your life. You spent every penny on her, didn't you? You'd strut around the deck like Captain Bligh, affecting a nautical air, though you never sailed the boat more than 200 yards yourself. It was your bolt-hole from fame. That's where we became friends, I think. Bonding on the briny. I miss the evenings we spent there, joyously awash with drink. You were the perfect host. You know, I think that's the only place I ever saw you at peace with the world.
She's 83 years old, you know.
Really?
A historic relic.
You must have spent a fortune rebuilding it.
A labour of love, worth every penny.
Ah, well.
She's 53 tons, does 12 knots against the tide.
Awfully nice to show me around, Arthur.
Not at all. There's simply nothing like messing about in boats.
Quite.
Always feel a little like Ratty.
Ratty?
Wind in the Willows.
Of course.
It was my dream as a boy to be a sailor.
Really?
The Board of Trade turned me down for the Merchant Navy. My eyesight, you see.
Oh, dear.
I had watched for years the boats going down the Manchester Ship Canal towards the open sea. Tankers, schooners. I yearned for a life on the open sea. But my eyesight killed that dream. I'd have never been an actor if I'd taken to the sea.
What a pity.
The Navy's loss was theatre's gain.
Oh, but of course.
My father gave me a 5-year deadline to make it as an actor. I had to get a proper job and give it up. It was 2 months short of the 5 years and looking at a life in factory when I got my West End break, playing a butler.
A last-minute reprieve.
Yes, there was no going back. I spent the 50s in musicals. Then came Coronation Street, the story of the beer-swinning hordes and their collective varicose veins. I thought I'd die there.
Well, Dad's army saved you from all that.
Yes, thank God. It paid for this boat.
Now you get to play the salty sea dog.
I'm getting out early, Johnny. Out of the acting racket. Sailing off into the sunset. I'm not buggering about with all this for much longer, I can tell you that much.
Oh, what a shame.
Just watch me. It's a life on the open waves for me and the Men Sahib. To sail out there and not be stared at like I'm a monkey in a cage.
It's a nice dream.
No dream. The open sea. That'll be the thing, Johnny. That'll be the thing. How did Masefield put it? I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and a grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife, and all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and a quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over.
Yes, it was on that deck, listening to you recite Masefield, that we finally became friends. Never did take to the high seas, though, did you, Arthur? The pull of theatre was too great. It's in your blood as much as the open sea. Dad's army made you too famous, though, didn't it, old boy? Thus you protected yourself by pretending to be the great reactionary. It was your way of covering your terrible shyness, of course. You did come to dread recognition, so. Arthur!
Oh, hello, Johnny. Didn't see you there.
Shall we get a cab together? I've got a voiceover. The studio's your way.
Oh, that's very good of you, Johnny. Can't seem to find one.
There's one. Cab.
Where to, Governor?
Little Venice, then on to Hammersmith, please.
You have the knack.
Knack?
Getting cabs.
I do?
Yes. They always seem to ignore me.
Oh, it's your stern countenance, Arthur.
Really?
A very angry Clement Attlee on the verge of attacking passers-by with a stick.
Yes. Just so.
All right then, Captain Mannering.
Oh, God.
Don't tell him, Pike.
Here we go again.
Don't lock it up, Captain.
Stop the cab.
Now, Arthur...
Stupid boy.
Hey, stop this cab.
What, here?
Yes, bloody here.
Arthur, you really must get used to this.
Never. I don't want any relationship with the public.
But they're your public.
So what? I think this hands across the footlights thing is a level old codswallop.
Oh, dear.
God save me from riffraff. Keep me away from them. I'll walk.
All the way to Little Venice.
I need the exercise.
Where's he going?
He fancied the fresh air.
Who rattled his cage?
You did, old boy. You did.
Sorry?
Nothing. Hammersmith Broadway, please. You never got used to the intrusions, did you, Arthur? I thought it all splendid. I'd had a lifetime of small parts, after all. The popularity of the show grew and grew. A movie and 3 radio series to boot. Why was the show so popular? I think it was because it was a gentle show for vicious times. Vietnam strikes here in England, the National Front, God forbid, the sour 70s. We provided escape from all that. A harmless, silly show full of silly old men. Of course, at the bottom of it was all about class. What British comedy isn't, now I think about it? Class has this country by the throat. It never changes. It was the core of the show. Mannering was the jumped-up grammar school overachiever. Sergeant Wilson, the public school underachiever. Thus the trenches were manned and the class war was fought. Some critics said we were too cosy, of course. That we were turning World War II into a nostalgia exercise, all Bovril and bully beef. No Blitz or Belsen. But I don't think we were that. It wasn't for war we were nostalgic, but for the only time this country fought a decent war. We weren't empire building when we took on Hitler. All those bandy-legged, pigeon-chested men with sauce-bottle shoulders and wire-rimmed spectacles went off to fight the Nazi war machine, the most evil darkness the world has ever seen. And on the home front, the women left their children behind and manned the factories and made the tanks that took the war to the enemy. And the old men put out the fires and manned the anti-aircraft batteries and stood guard in the cold black of night. If we honoured those people, then it must have been worth it, even if it was only a comedy show. In a way, you and I became 2 of the most famous British soldiers ever, with Pike and the other chaps close behind. It must have meant something to the public. My God, by 1972, half the country was watching the show.
Striking miners. They should take them out and shoot a few, Jimmy.
Shoot them? What for?
That'll get this country moving. We'll teach those monkeys.
They're not monkeys, Arthur.
Oh, they smell like monkeys.
They're doing a dirty job.
And whining about it the whole time.
Wouldn't you, Arthur? It's a really difficult job.
What's difficult about digging coal? They could train orangutans to do it.
Back to monkeys.
Good morning.
What's good about it?
Sun shining, all well with the world.
Well with the world? Haven't you seen the papers?
Sorry I'm late. Had to get a taxi.
Where's your motor?
Well, I left it.
What, you broke down?
No, I was rather bored of it. I was stuck in a traffic jam under Hammersmith flyover, so I just got out and walked away.
You left it there?
Yes, I did rather.
Just left it in the street?
I'm afraid I did.
Look, Mez, beneath that calm exterior lurks a raving madman.
Well, I expect so, yes.
You should see a psychiatrist.
Oh, I daren't.
Why not?
They might find out who I really am.
Oh, surely that would be a good thing.
I'm not so sure. Best not to know how the inner workings tick.
You'll be in the loony bin by Christmas, Johnny.
I always think you'd meet a nicer class of person in the loony bin.
They should run this country. They'd make a better job of it.
Would they?
Unwashed, Trotskyite miners holding this nation to ransom. The day they abolished national service, it all went to pot.
Been reading the Daily Mail again, Arthur. They do tend to mass panic.
It's not funny.
My God, the world has gone mad.
What on earth is the matter?
The BBC Suits just rang David Croft.
What about?
The episode broadcast last night got 21 million viewers. 21!
21?
My God, don't these people have lives?
Bloody hell. That's a lot, isn't it?
And that's not just 21 million people. They count the television sets.
How do you mean?
If you average 2 adults per house, that's 42 million people watching. Over 2/3 of the nation, man.
Dear God.
Staring at a bunch of old men being silly-arsed in uniform. We're the most popular programme on television.
It's great, isn't it?
It's like I told you, Johnny. This show is becoming a legend in its own time.
We all thought it was rubbish when it started.
It still is. We're fooling them.
Cheer up, Laurie. You might get to like doing it one day.
In your dreams, London boy.
It's a classic.
Macbeth is a classic.
Well, this is good news indeed. Very good. Must go and phone the Men's Sahib.
If the National Union of Miners come round with a bucket while you're off, I'll tell them you're down for a fiver, eh, Arthur?
They can shove that bucket where the sun doesn't shine. Sponging socialist oafs.
There he goes, Genghis Khan.
You really shouldn't encourage him, Jimmy.
Really winding him up.
Of course. He doesn't really mean it.
I wouldn't be sure the reactionary routine is all an act, boy. There's a dictator inside that man, itching to get out.
I wish you'd like him more.
Nay, lad. We circle each other like Japanese fighting fish. There'll be no truce there.
Right, let's get back to Lemez's car.
What? Oh, yes.
Who in their right minds deserts their own car under Hammersmith's bloody flyover?
Jimmy was always surprised by my inner madness. It was my rebellion against my passivity, I expect. I do miss Jimmy, don't you, Arthur? During filming of the 6th series, wasn't it, when it happened? He was opening a charity fete when he was rushed to hospital. During the operation, his pancreas burst, liver and kidneys failed, heart gave out. Good night, Vienna. He was only 44. Same as poor Tony. No age at all. Yes, no age at all. Jimmy's funeral was the saddest time of all.
Well, it was a very good service.
Yes. They said such nice things.
That age. My God, the man was a child.
He was terribly close to you, wasn't he, Johnny?
Yes, he was.
I'm awfully sorry.
Thank you, Arthur.
We all miss him. He was the life and soul of the party.
Yes.
The show won't be the same without him.
No.
Has David said whether they'll replace him?
With another Cockney type?
I suppose.
I don't think the public will accept it. They adored him.
Quite.
The first to go.
Yes.
And I thought old Arnold would be the first. He's a year older than me, you know.
So you keep telling us.
The man's made a pact with the Grim Reaper, that's all I'm saying. If he can outlive poor Jimmy, I'll be next. Aye, it's hardly worth my while going home. I'll just lie down in a hole, shovel the dirt on me now.
Will you stop? You'll outlive us all.
I wouldn't be so sure.
What makes you so morbid?
Practice, lad, practice.
We'd better say something to Jimmy's widow.
Dear God, what words are there to say?
He gave joy to millions. It was not a life wasted.
That's a beautiful thing to say, Arthur.
One likes to be fair. I always liked him, you know.
We were right, Arthur, weren't we? The show was never the same without Jimmy. Though it went on another 3 series. Forever popular, but the balance just wasn't the same. Still, 9 series was quite an achievement, and every day filming was a joy, a sheer bloody joy. More like a gentleman's club than a television series. And almost a decade of work. How many actors get that? A decade of not being broke and worrying about the rent. We can't knock it. All things come to an end, of course. We'd lasted almost twice as long as the actual war. Without being bombed by the Luftwaffe, which was awfully nice of them, considering. So the last series came. I'd become ill in Australia during rehearsals for a play. Remember, I was flown home in a wheelchair, looking like a ghoul. I wasn't well enough to film the exterior shots, but I wanted to be in the final parade. Such a pity. You developed narcolepsy in the meantime, falling asleep all the time. We were the walking wounded indeed.
How are you feeling, old boy?
Not so bad.
Good show. We'll get you through it.
Mom wanted to be here.
Quite. Wouldn't be the same without you.
Got anything lined up next?
The agent's overwhelmed with offers.
Oh, good show.
You?
Better get the health sorted first.
Of course.
Joni's keen on me retiring, but I'm not keen on that at all.
Paris' fault.
I like to stay busy. Anyway, doubt I could afford it for long.
No, to die in harness, that's the thing.
No retirement for thespians.
Like old soldiers, we never die.
The parts just get smaller.
It's It's lovely. What the boys have written. Splendid.
Well, stuck on the end of a pier?
No. The toast. To the home garden.
Oh, yes.
Makes it all valid, somehow.
Of course.
It was our finest hour, the war. Pulling together like that, the Nazis would have driven us all to hell.
Quite.
Ironic, really.
What's that?
You and me, stuck in India and Egypt all through it. Bored to distraction, not firing a shot in anger. We had to wait until we were old men to get to fight Nazis.
Ironic indeed.
We will stay in touch, won't we, old man?
Oh, yes. Mannering and Wilson are joined at the hip, old boy, after all.
Now and forever. Look, I know I haven't been easy.
You were a joy, Arthur. Working with you was an absolute joy.
Thanks for saying that, Johnny. It means a lot. Who knew chalk could become such friends with cheese?
Yes, who indeed. Oh, I'll miss all this terribly.
And the paychecks.
Oh, naturally. Well, there's always Coronation Street, Arthur. They'd welcome you back with open arms.
Don't even say it, not even in jest. The only way I go back there if they let me strangle Elsie Tanner, run Albert Tatlock through with a sword, and take a bulldozer to the Rover's Return.
Well, they might have that.
No, onwards and upwards, old boy.
Yes, onwards and upwards.
I'm rather keen on treading the boards again.
Ah, yes.
The smell of the grease paint and all that, I've missed it so.
Any particular play?
Oh, nothing specific, just a suitable vehicle for me and the Mensahib.
Oh, with your wife?
Oh, yes. Wouldn't tread the boards without the Mensahib.
It wasn't the end, of course, Arthur, was it, after the show finished? Though you always worried it might be. We both did well. There was my BAFTA for playing Kim Philby. Best thing I ever did, I think. And dear little Bod for children's TV and Bilbo Baggins for the radio. You did all your tellies and your many theatre tours. You've seen England and the world with your tours, Arthur, haven't you? I'm glad you're living the dream. You always wanted to be the best character actor going, didn't you? And I suspect you are. I have no regrets. It's all been rather lovely. I've left instructions for when I die. My death notice will read, John Le Mesurier wishes it to be known that he conked out. He sadly misses family and friends. I won't mind going. I'll get to see Hattie. Poor Hattie and Tony. And Laurie. Gone too. Arnold outlived him after all. He'll outlive us all. It's gone in a blink of an eye, of course. Life. But I've had such chums, such chums. Always know when to exit, though. That's my motto. I read something somewhere. Can't recall who wrote it. It went, farewell the grease paint, farewell the footlight. There will be no encore tonight. Farewell the laughter, farewell the crowd. The curtain falls like a mourning shroud. Farewell the players, farewell the song. Time to leave. The people have gone. Farewell the entrance, farewell the first night, for death must take his bow tonight. Of course, when you appear in a television series as loved as Dad's Army, you don't really die, Arthur. We live on, don't we? Lodged in the memory of generations. The Home Guard of Walmington-on-Sea will march on forever. Pompous Mannering, Old Jonesy, Doer Fraser, Frail Godfrey, Shifty Walker, Mummy's boy Pike, and dear old Sergeant Wilson, perhaps the gentlest sergeant there ever was. Oh, here's Joni, back from the shops. I'll get her to post this afternoon. We'll have a jolly trip to the pub after, I think, just for a while. Makes life worth living, after all. I do miss you, you know, dear Arthur. Take care, old stick, until we meet again. Love, John.
All right, Wilson, get the men in line.
Yes. Would you chaps mind awfully standing to some sort of attention?
You're about as military as a bunch of drooping daisies, Wilson.
Oh, am I? I'm awfully sorry, sir.
Now, men, wait a minute, where's Jones?
He sent a note, Captain Mannering. His mince has all gone off.
Mince? Oh, for the love of... We're fighting the Nazi war machine, Pike. They won't stop for mince.
Nah, but they might stop for breakfast.
That's awfully good, Walker Bradford.
Pull yourself together, Wilson.
Yes, sir.
We're fighting Adolf Hitler, not Charlie Chaplin.
Same moustache.
Yes, it's very similar, Mr Fraser. I wonder if he copied it.
I think Hitler might have had his first Pike.
You know, I'd never thought of that.
That's why I'm here, laddie, to educate.
I modelled my test on Clark Gable.
You? The only way you look like Clark Gable, Walker, is in the pitch black with a coal bag over your head.
I don't know. It's fooled many a bird in the semi-dark of the pictures. They're all over me like a cheap suit.
Can we please stop talking about moustaches?
And mince.
I'll do the talking, Wilson.
Yes.
Now, there's been reports of German parachutists.
Oh, dear, again.
The Home Guard never sleeps, Wilson. Wait a minute, where's Godfrey?
He's asleep, Captain Mannering. We didn't want to wake him.
Asleep? England's in peril.
And Scotland.
England and Scotland are in peril.
Don't forget Wales.
Yes. England, Scotland and Wales are in peril. Now's not the time for sleep. We have to guard the cliff front all night.
Do you really think Herr Hitler will have his eyes on Warmington-on-Sea for his invasion, sir?
He has his beady eye on this island, Wilson. But we'll be ready.
Provided Jones's mince isn't off.
Oh, be quiet, Walker. Lead them off, Wilson. Tonight we stand guard on freedom. Like Nelson and Drake before us, like the bowmen of Agincourt and Wellington in the mud of Waterloo. They shall not pass. Tonight we march in the shadow of giants.
How wonderfully put, sir, if I may say so.
That's very decent of you to say, Wilson.
Not at all, sir.
Stand guard on freedom with us, sir. I'm sure Hitler's shaking in his boots.
Quiet, Fraser. Lead them off, Wilson.
Yes, sir. Forward, chaps, if you don't mind. We can pick up Jonesy on the way. Give Godfrey a nudge on the way out, Frank.
Okie dokie, Uncle Arthur.
Oh, for the love of God.
I say, what lovely marching. You're almost in time.
You have been listening to Anton Lesser as John Mesurier, Robert Dawes as Arthur Lowe, Kenny Ireland as John Laurie, James Lance as James Beck, and Matt Addis as Ian Lavender. Dear Arthur Love John was written by Roy Smiles, produced by Liz Anstey, and it was a CPL production for BBC Radio 4.